I am Heidi Benjaminson, your host of Confidence Coaching, a podcast for mothers who want to like themselves and like their teens. Life isn't a spectator sport. Success comes to those who show up every day with a pocket full of courage, grit, and a little sparkle. I'm glad you're here. Hello. Welcome to episode 152, Stay in Your Lane series. And this is about other people's lanes. Welcome, listeners. I'm glad you're here. I know I say that every week, but it's true. I know it's an honor for you to take a few minutes from your day or your drive and to listen to this podcast. Now, if you haven't already, please hit subscribe and rate and review. It really helps the podcast. I appreciate it a lot. You may have noticed I haven't created accompanying YouTube videos for episodes since I've moved. Now, I am planning to create short videos for each of these episodes, but it still is going to be another week or two though. On my YouTube channel, you can see past videos, which are just short, a few minute videos that add examples and such to past episodes. If you subscribe to my channel on YouTube, which is just my name, you'll then see the new videos when they get them posted. Several of you already listen in YouTube to this podcast, and you can then add closed captioning if you like. I love that option. Today, we're continuing the Stay in Your Lane series, and we are talking about everyone else's lane. Last week, I asked you to draw on paper, and you can mentally draw if you can't grab paper. Draw 2 lanes on a road with a channel between the lanes. The next episode on this topic, I'm going to go into that channel of influence, which is very, very important. So be sure to listen next week as well. All of the episodes in this series actually build on each other. So on your picture, one of these lanes is your lane, which I went over in episode 151. Be sure to listen to that before this episode. In that episode, I outlined what we are responsible for in our life, in our lane. Now, draw a circle like a tire or steering wheel. This wheel that goes around and around is made up of our internal thoughts, emotions, actions, what we do and don't do. This wheel in our lane is what we are creating, who we are becoming. This wheel is how we experience life. Now, this happens inside of our body. People can see inside our lane as they see our words, our tone, our body language, but most of our lane is centered in our mind, in our heart, in our body. Everyone and everything else is outside of our lane, and we can't control it or them. Now, we do have influence, not control, influence over things and people outside of us in their lanes. But our ultimate control, our only control, is inside our lane. No matter what is going on around us, we have control. We want to be steering and moving our thinking, feeling, and doing wheel in a way that's going to get us where we want to go. So, to go to the other person's lane, everyone else, as you look at your drawing, that other lane, we don't have control of that. That is everyone else's lane. That is what they are responsible for. Your husband is responsible for what he's thinking, for his emotions, for his actions, just as everyone else, your children, your boss, your neighbors, your sister. We do have influence over other people's lanes. Again, more to come next week. But we are not inside the heads of the people around us. Other people feel certain ways because of their thoughts, because of the lens through which they see the world. Do you have siblings? Even children raised in the same home with somewhat similar childhoods will have very different experiences, will have a variety of opinions of their life because all of us think and feel differently. We're all wired different, and our experiences influence our biases, opinions, the lens through which we see and operate. I like to look at people and picture a wheel in their head or heart, the wheel of their thoughts, their emotions, and their actions. I like to picture it separate from me, so I separate my responsibility, moving my responsibility back to my lane and respect that other people are different. I never want to make it wrong for people to think or be who they are. I don't know why they think or act that way. When our children are young, we have incredible influence over this wheel, and we want to. They are developing. They need us helping them navigate their lane. The things we say to them over and over often become the narrative in their own head. They observe and often adapt or pick up our opinions, biases, and beliefs about the world. So our influence is real, and it's good that we control or give structure to our children as they're growing and maturing. They don't have the wisdom yet that we have. They need the safety we can provide. As they grow, though, one of the hardest things, yet most emotionally mature things we need to do is release controlling their lane and move back to only controlling ourselves. We still very much have influence, but their confidence will grow as we step back and let them drive, make mistakes, and learn lessons just as we learned in life. This takes time. We will swerve. It's okay. I will even acknowledge to my older teens, hey, I need to let you handle that. I'm sorry that I stepped in too far. I'm stepping out now. My job then is to develop trust and patience and recenter myself, my wheel, on my responsibilities. I'm going to go through several rules of the road or rules to remember as we navigate life with other people in their lanes. Things to remember to steady us in our life, which actually steadies everyone else in their lanes. Our energy can be seen and felt by others, so how we handle ourselves and treat others can have a great influence on them. Okay, our first rule, we don't know what other people are thinking. What? I know, crazy. We think we do. Maybe we have seen patterns. In a later episode, I am going to go over tracking and mapping that we do of each other. But we literally do not know what someone is thinking, which means the most respectful thing to do is to ask someone, hey, tell me what you're thinking about this upcoming Alaska vacation. Hey, I'm wondering what your thoughts are about going off to college. Then listen, like really listen. Listen to understand what they are thinking. Listen with curiosity, not judgment. Ask questions. Let others also change their opinion over time. Be respectful that other people, our children, our spouses, are all different from us, and that is a good thing. I know people make lots of assumptions about me, maybe because of my religion or other things, and I guarantee many of those assumptions are wrong. And it's just because people haven't asked. Assumptions create some of the biggest emotional wrecks between lanes. We don't know what people are thinking unless we ask them. And one of the easiest ways to do that is just ask, what are your thoughts on this? Even after we've been married for decades, we may think we have a good idea of what our spouse is thinking. But even so, the most respectful thing to do is ask. Or say, hey, I'm wondering if you're thinking this. I'm just curious. The safest, emotionally safest thing to do with another person's lane is to confirm that you know what they're thinking or give them space and respect to share what their opinion or experience is. Then say, okay, thanks for clarifying. Thanks for telling me. Or say, thank you for trusting me with your thoughts. Never tell someone that they shouldn't be thinking what they're thinking. Everyone has good reasons, even if we don't see things the same way. Okay, the second rule for dealing with others in their lane is we are not in charge of their emotions. We do not need to fix anyone else's emotions. Remember, emotions are data points. They are an expression of what we are experiencing. We want to be considerate of someone else's emotions. We want to be curious. We want to be kind. But this is very different from fixing. Now, this goes against our lower brain default programming that thinks if someone is feeling something negative, that this is bad and we need to change it. The problem with this default automatic thinking is that it drives other people farther away from us. Think of the last time you started to share a hard experience with someone. Most of the time, we really need people to hear our experiences, validate what is going on in our lane and that it's real. It feels unsettling to our nervous system if someone can't see our experience and validate that it's real. Our nervous system feels icky if we share this hard experience and another person says, "Oh, it wasn't that bad," or "Oh, they didn't mean to hurt you," "Oh, you're so sensitive," or "Oh, you'll feel better tomorrow." This isn't really seeing someone else. When someone shares their feelings with us, we want to validate and really see them, believe them. This sounds like, "Oh, that sounds like that would be hard. Tell me more about that." In fact, validating uses very little words. Other people become more steady and settled in their lane, even in their discomfort or negative emotion, when we can validate and normalize their experience. If we can also say, "Oh, I can see how that would be maybe feeling that way. I have felt that way too. I know others have." But doing these two things, we project confidence that other people can feel discomfort, that they can handle all of their emotions, and their nervous system will then calm and begin to regulate. This is work I mess up on and have to come back to. Even just a few minutes ago, my husband was telling me something that he's struggling with, and it took all my energy to validate and see how he's feeling the way he is and not try to change his mindset. To keep my mind calm and my mouth shut, I have to tell myself, just listen, don't solve. Just listen, don't solve. And like most people, he worked through it and he came up with a solution on his own a minute later. I have improved so much on this, but it is still hard and I make mistakes and I'll maybe jump in to fix. But I've noticed in each relationship where I make it a priority to validate and see their emotions, we're closer and other people feel safe and comfortable to share what's going on in their head and body. Picture both of our lanes being different and yet steady. This is because we can both have different emotions and be in control of them. We are secure and anchored and not blaming the other person for how we feel. Okay, the third rule, which is similar to the last one, is that we shouldn't tell people how they should feel or that they shouldn't feel the way that they say they are. If someone is lonely in a room of 100 friends, loneliness is their experience. Find out why. Remind yourself their wheel in their lane is different than your wheel. Everybody gets to feel the way they want to feel. Again, it's very dysregulating to our nervous system if another person tells us that we shouldn't feel the way we're feeling inside. Our brain then starts to question why we feel a certain way. We can't change our perspective. We can't see new truths until someone validates our first experience. Here's an example of how this is done. This past year, my family moved and our daughter left her home state, the school she had been at for 4 years, all of her friends, and she started 10th grade in a new school in a new town. She was nervous the day that we went to the school to register for her classes, and even that night we went for a tour and she was nervous. On the first day, despite all of the things we had done to help her accustom, she was nervous. It would not have been helpful to her for me to tell her that she shouldn't be nervous. I did things to be considerate of her nervousness. We got her there in time to do a tour. She met a few sweet friends prior to the first day. She had new clothes, her favorite lunch, a new backpack. I was considerate, but not trying to fix her emotions. On the first day when I picked her up, I was as nervous as she was. I really wanted it to be a good day. My heart twisted and turned as her tears started to flow as she explained not knowing where to sit at lunch, how she wanted to go back to Massachusetts where she knew every single person. I didn't tell her that she wasn't being grateful for her new clothes or her new backpack. I didn't make her look on the bright side. I didn't tell her that she'd have a few friends in a week or two. I just respected what she was experiencing. I listened. I knew the most respectful thing would be to quietly and confidently show her that I thought she could handle these emotions, and I had to sit with the discomfort inside me. It was hard, but was it hard for me to stay in my lane? Oh my goodness, yes. I had to sit with the discomfort coming up for me. It did help that by Wednesday of that week, she had a nice lunch group and was making friends quite well. But this happened in part because I let her experience what she had to experience. I normalized and validated her lane, her experience. I hugged her a lot. I made her favorite meals. I wrote her notes. We showered her with love that she could handle how hard this was. My husband shared with her how hard it was for him starting a new job. Her brothers shared how nervous they were going to college. This settled her in her lane. We're all looking for people to help us feel normal and valid in whatever we're feeling. Okay, the next rule or guideline of other people's lanes is that other people are responsible for their own needs, just like we are responsible for what we need. Now, it goes without saying, when children are born, they need us to take care of 100% of their needs. As they grow, though, they will learn to take care of their needs more as we step back and let them identify what they need. This builds their own internal sense of trust. Others build confidence and feel empowered as they identify their needs, are able to seek out ways to meet these needs, including asking others for help. Then they feel the pride and satisfaction of learning how to meet their needs. This area is where most of our accidents between lanes take place. We in our lane think we see what another person needs. We think that it's nice to then take care of this need. We do so, and then maybe that person doesn't perceive that this is a need, so they don't acknowledge how nice it was that we did that thing. Then we get offended. Or they get disempowered if people think they can't take care of their own life issues. Recently, I was speaking with someone who was asking how to empower a group that she leads. She was telling me all the things that she has done for this group. And I asked, did the people in the group ask for those things? Did anyone ask them if they wanted those things fixed? And she said no. This is how we get groups who stay stuck in a victim mentality. They're stuck and disempowered because people, usually with good intentions, swerve and quickly fix things, thinking they know the needs. So we end up again with groups of people in their lanes who truly do not know how to identify and take care of their needs. They have no confidence because the other lane didn't give them space to develop the confidence. Butting out of other people's lanes, other people's business creates less problems for all of the lanes. Okay, as our children grow, let them start asking for things. Even if we see that they might have a need, or ask them, is there something I can do to assist you? Years ago, I had a son who had been asked to speak in church, and the day before, I knew he hadn't written his talk. But I had to put this responsibility, this need, back in his lane. I had expressed willingness to help, but he wanted to go out with friends and said he would get it done. And I just really needed to teach him a few lessons. I decided I was not going to stress or worry. I had to let the process be one that he would learn from. And, this is big, I didn't have my self-worth on the line for what type of talk he would give. I slept well Saturday night, and come Sunday morning, he rushed into my room, asking if I'd look over the talk he had written. It was fantastic. Now, even if it had been mediocre, it was his. I took my hands off his wheel to let him learn how to manage his time, write what he wanted to write. He knew I was in my lane to assist, but I wasn't frantically and insecurely swerving all over. If I had, he would have resisted more and perceived my lack of confidence in him. Instead, I gave him space to work it out. I got my rest, and we all learned some valuable lessons. As I mentioned, I couldn't have my self-worth, my value as a mother, sitting in his lane. It's the responsibility of my lane to validate my worth. This isn't the job of my children or anyone else, which helps me respect my children's lane. Because he took care of his need, he also felt an increase of pride and satisfaction. because he knew the fuel and energy in his lane had written his talk. He could even feel proud of asking for help. My job was to be there willing to help if asked. This frees me up to do other things, like get a good night's sleep. And it develops an internal strength in our children to trust they know what they need and can practice asking for help. The next rule of respecting other people's lanes is to recognize we're all moving at different speeds. We're all blooming in different seasons. We're all on different journeys, however we want to think about it. The worst thing we can do is compare ourselves to each other. Our kids don't like us comparing them to each other or to other kids. Nobody likes to feel like they're being judged or compared. We do live in a world with mile markers, general ages when people do different things. The most generous thing we can do is let everyone be doing life just right. Be going at the right speed for what feels right in their body. The next rule to remember, as we picture people in their lanes, living their life, is we can't see the obstacles and potholes in someone else's lane. Even if we think we can see someone's life clearly, we actually can't. And it doesn't benefit us or them for us to think we know their life best. We don't know what challenges someone is facing. We never really know what's going on in another marriage. We don't know family struggles or addictions or weaknesses or burdens. We just don't know. We don't know financial or mental hardships. We have to remind ourselves, I don't know what that person is dealing with. This helps us drop judgment and criticism and feel curiosity, compassion, and grace much faster, which makes us much more enjoyable people in our lane to live with. These emotions will steady and support people in their lane more than judgment and shame will. It's quite timely that right now I'm teaching our daughter to drive. I'm always astonished that our kids ride in our cars for 16 or so years, and when they drive, it's like they've been completely clueless and not paying attention to how to operate a car, how roads and driving work. When they're finally behind the wheel, when they have to press the gas, turn the wheel, learn all the buttons, learn how far or how close to the curb to be, when they are in charge, they learn and they grow. Yes, they do hit the curb a lot, but that shows them how to learn to take turns. My daughter is learning how to pull into our garage and how far the side window should be. I have to let her do it. It's the same as us learning to emotionally respect the responsibility of other people to emotionally drive and run their lives, to make decisions, to identify their needs, to build their self-esteem. They won't learn if we're swerving all over and trying to move their wheels. They'll feel insecure and disrespected. They feel a lack of trust and we'll be exhausted trying to manage the whole road. Just like Abby is trying to gain her confidence quickly as I step back, taking my hands off the literal steering wheel, as I let it be okay for her to go at the speed to learn, to hit a few curbs, we have to let other people manage their life, manage their lane. They need confidence and calm passengers in their car, not irritated and judgmental passengers. My daughter is very sensitive to how I hold myself, the comments I make when she's driving, when I grab the side of the door, which does happen a lot. I have yelled at her to stop when she almost pulls out at the wrong time. That's my responsibility. I'm going to keep doing that to keep her safe, but the yelling is very, very rare. You've probably taught a child or 2 or 5 to drive. If you haven't yet, buckle up. It's fun. The only way for them to learn is to have the responsibility behind the wheel. This is how other people learn everything they need to learn in their lane. We need to respect the rules and let people make mistakes. We need to let them learn to build their self-esteem. We need to let them learn to ask for help. We need to let them experience the unique challenges in their lane without our judgment or criticism. Our lives become much lighter and much more centered, more anchored, more steady, whatever energy you desire, when we stop trying to control other people and when we move back to being in control of our own life. We move back to our lane when we ask, who do I want to be in relation to this other person, to their lane? Often we're trying to change someone else's lane because we don't want to do the hard work of being in control of ourselves. This is where real emotional control and emotional freedom is. Our families need us to be in control of ourselves and respect that they can control and learn to control their lanes. Next week, I'll be discussing the channel of influence between our lanes. We do have influence. We want to use this influence responsibly and release the controlling. That's it for this week. If you would like personalized weekly private one-on-one coaching to see how you can stay in your lane and stop trying to control others in their lane, sign up for a consult call at HeidiBenjaminson.com. A confident mother is the greatest gift to her family, not a perfect mother. Our families want us to feel confident, anchored, and calm. I can help you uncover this version of yourself. Have a great week.